The selection of thought. The selection of thoughts. There have been various remarks made recently concerning the idea, can we stop thinking? We were taught from the beginning of this work to try to stop our thoughts. Many people with a superficial understanding began to think that they could actually stop their thoughts. On the other hand, many of us found we couldn't, and eventually we were told that it was merely an exercise whose object was to make us realize that we could not stop our thoughts, as we are at present. We were then told sometime later that although we could not stop our thoughts, we could select which thoughts we go with and which we separate from. Then came in the idea that we had, in connection with certain trains of thought, to make stop exercise within us. Put stop. This opened up my mind to the idea of what control we have over thoughts, namely, that we cannot stop trains of thought, because instantly another train of thought starts, but that we can make in a stop. Suppose I am walking in the internal city of myself and I begin to have a thought, which I have already observed always lets me into the slums of my inner city that is into direful negative states. If I know something about this internal psychological city of myself, I can stop going down that train of thought, that evil slum. Understand, you cannot get rid of that evil thought in the slum of your internal city, but just as in the natural physical world, you can avoid going down low and dangerous streets, so you can learn to stop yourself from going down such psychological streets. I began to understand this when I found that if I began to think of a person in the older work, whom I disliked very much mechanically, if I followed the train of associations in regard to her, I always found myself in a very bad place in myself. It was no good expecting that she would change. It was myself who had to change and not follow unpleasant associations that I had unfortunately allowed to grow up unchecked by any inner observation, with the result that the very mention of her name made me become negative. Therefore please understand that you cannot stop your thoughts, and here I will give an example, one of many in which I was trying to stop my thoughts completely, that is I was stopping my thoughts and sitting in an uncomfortable position with some pain attached, and the next moment, I found myself thinking, you are trying to stop your thoughts and you are sitting in an uncomfortable position in order to help you. Therefore you see, in stopping thoughts I think other thoughts about myself, stopping my thoughts. It was about this time that I realized that this exercise called stopping your thoughts was given us in order to make us understand that we could not stop our thoughts. Eventually, then, I realized that although we cannot stop our thoughts, we can select our thoughts. I mean, we can select which thoughts we go with and dislike. Thoughts that we know quite well by observation always led to the worst slums in our own psychology. Although we have very little will and therefore cannot do in the ordinary sense, we always have some power of selection in our interior world. If we always select evil and false thoughts, we have not a very good greenhouse. I mean, we grow nasty little things in our greenhouse, such as cacti. In short, we are not very good gardeners. Shakespeare speaks of our wills as gardeners, to the effect that if we will plant nettles or sow lettuces, supplied the garden with one gender of herbs, or distracted with many, either to have it sterile with idleness or manured with industry, why, the power and corrigible authority of this lies in our wills. And, as is often mentioned in the Gospels, we have to throw away the weeds and select the best plants and water them and manure them. So you'll understand that, as regards the whole question of one's thoughts and what one should do with them, one has the power of growing nettles, or discarding them like a good gardener. We can select our thoughts. We know what they are only through long observation, and we know where they lead us in the internal psychological city that is ourselves. Now one way of getting out of a bad thought is by putting your attention into something. If you simply leave your life to the automatic work of associations, you are not in charge of your life. If you notice, if you can by self-observation notice, that you are coming to a wrong place in your inner city of yourself, you can come out of it by attention. Now if you have some understanding of the work behind you and some evaluation of it, this may prevent you from going down the slums of yourself, but as regards that you must have an aim of some kind and you must get into that aim, and it will save you from going to Soho or Whitechapel or Limehouse in yourself. You must not think that the work becomes easier as you grow older. Quite the contrary. But you must find by that time that you are holding on to something that you want to do and give your attention to it. And in this connection never think that death ends life.